It's amazing. I mean, you think about, well, I was talking about this with somebody the other day, not to go too far afield, but, you know, every time it feels like in my lifetime that Democrats take over the White House, they're fixing something that Republicans have royally screwed up.
So usually the economy and the budget.
Yes, which is crazy.
Budget deficit soars under Republicans.
Because that's all they preach about is the budget deficit. Well, in the last 4 years, they didn't preach much about it at all.
But they always went up.
They went mute. Yes,
Reagan, it went up. Bush, it went up.
Yes.
Trump's the figure with Trump is really funny. People need to Google this. Look at what the budget did, because under Obama, the deficit went up, of course, because of the economic crisis, right? I mean, we had to spend $1 trillion of deficit that first year alone. It was crazy. That's a lot for a deficit. But what you do is you look at the chart and it goes up under Obama, then it goes to Trump, and it goes even higher. Trump had zero excuse to continue the deficits.
Well, Joe Biden wants to try and do this, do something on a bipartisan level when it comes to this COVID relief. He put up this, what a lot of people will view as pie in the sky, $1.9 trillion. I don't think anybody anticipates he's going to get that. But at the end of the day, what can he do from a bargaining standpoint? What can he shake out of Republicans out of that $1.9 trillion?
I mean, what do you mean? I'm not sure what you're asking.
How much of that can he realistically get? How much?
I don't know.
Can he get any buy-in?
He may not be able to get any. I mean, I start thinking of the stimulus back under Obama.
So it's going to have to be reconciliation, then, is what you're saying.
I think it might have to be. I mean, when you look back then, okay, Romney's trying to be more reasonable this time, but we'll see. I mean, Romney's been, whining about the COVID relief bill as well. What's her face? In Maine has been whining as well.
Collins.
And Snow did the same. Collins. She and Snow did the same thing under Obama with the stimulus, right? It's my dog is pissed at me. I didn't give her water. Uh-oh.
Did she ring a bell? Hold on a second. Did the dog ring a bell?
No, she said my dog is amazing. She's the most vocal dog you will ever meet, and she has different whines for different things. WHINE, that is.
Yeah.
So now she's at the bowl and she goes, and that means I ran out of water. And she's got me trained around her little tail. It's just, but we're gonna make her wait. She'll survive.
So 1.9 trillion. I mean,
they could just put their foot down and be jerks. Collins and Snow did it. I mean, they were being jerks with the stimulus the first time around. I mean, they could just, I don't know. I mean, they're clearly trying to go on this whole unity BS with Biden. Biden wanted you. Anytime Biden has a proposal of his own, they whine, Biden said he wanted unity and now he wants to do something he wants to do. And it's like, okay, he's allowed to propose something.
How long do you think the era of Biden and bipartisanship and reaching across the aisle, how long do you think that goes? Because keep in mind, with congressional elections, 2022, you don't have a ton of time to get what you really want to get done.
Right.
How long can he afford to wait before moving on and saying, you know what, let's talk about blowing up the filibuster. How long can he wait?
I mean, Manchin won't let him blow up the filibuster, but I agree with you. I think it's going to be very interesting in the next month or two to see what Republicans do. Okay. Does McConnell really just try to be just like he was with Obama? Remember McConnell saying he was going to do everything he could
make him
to
a
make
one-term
Obama one-term president,
yeah.
Right? So if he tries to do the same thing to Biden, and he probably will, he'd like to obviously kick Schumer out of the Senate and take over the Senate. I mean, as majority leader and take over the Senate again. So he doesn't really want the Senate to be very productive. Republicans probably don't want the country to do very well with COVID. They don't want the economy to get better, right? All of these things get worse under Biden, then Democrats are in trouble. I worry that I worry very much that we're in a replay of 2008, 2009, in just like with Obama and Biden. I've been saying this, even though Biden's a totally different character than Obama, I am one who believes in bipartisanship if you can pull it off. I actually do. But I also believe that if you can't pull it off, you've got to accept it and charge ahead like a bull and get stuff done anyway. Obama had a hard time with that the first couple of years, and I feel Biden might too.
John, I've always felt that, and I remember having this conversation with you when I was in Palm Springs doing the show there. I always felt that if there was any candidate that had the poise, that had the relationships to bring America together in a time where it sorely needs to be brought together, that it was Joe Biden. And that was in whatever, 2019. Have we gone so far south since then that just isn't possible?
Possibly, because, again, let's take it back to the insurrection. We've still got 70% of Republicans or something like that who say Biden either didn't win or they don't believe the results or something to that effect, right? So you've already got Biden taking over with the Republicans having lied and discredited him and saying he isn't the real president. That's the first problem. So good luck reaching a deal with the guy who isn't the real president, right? Now, that also means that they're going to be just as big of idiots on anything else Biden does. Fox News is still being Fox News, and they're getting even foxier. You know, in the last couple of months, Fox News was getting a little bit better. People now are concerned that because Fox lost so many viewers to Newsmax and OAN, these crazy, even crazier than Fox right-wingers, right? That now Fox is trying to go a little crazy again by having 7 o'clock hour. They took one of their news shows and they've now moved it to a partisan opinion show that may have Maria Bartiromo run, who again is a Trump-loving lunatic. So Fox is going to get even foxier now. If McConnell, and maybe it does come down to McConnell, if McConnell decides he wants to work with Biden, maybe we can pull it off. If McConnell decides he wants to just obstruct, then I think we're going to have the Republicans go off into Trump land, and the country's going to get worse and worse.
I had this conversation with Rick Wilson last year when I was hosting my podcast, and I said to him, I think it's viable that within 20 years, which isn't a long time when you think, I mean, again, 20 years since 9/11.
Right.
To me, it isn't crazy to think that in 20 years, you can have 4 viable political parties in the United States, which I've had this conversation with my.
Right. What did Rick think? Did he believe it? Or?
Well, I absolutely he did, and I think you can have a far left wing of the party, ultra progressive, what Republicans would call socialism, which they don't have a clue as to what that is. You
could very well be democratic socialist, though.
Yes, it can. I mean, you could have you could have the moderate wing of the Democratic Party, and conversely, you can have this more moderate Republican wing of the party, the Mitt Romneys of the world, and then essentially the MAGA party. That within 20 years, we may get to that point that you have those 4 political parties, which, again, I was having this conversation with my husband the other day. I think will be a good thing to have that sort of to have a true representation of who these factions are in a named party. To me, wouldn't be a bad thing.
But the problem is we're not a parliamentary system of government. That's what scares me about it, right? You can't, I mean, good luck forming a coalition for running for president. On the left, we're all going to stab each other in the back. We don't even deal well with primaries on the left.
But we ultimately did it. But I mean, Democrats ultimately did it. They did ultimately get to that point, and the best person won, and it was Biden.
Right. We did. No, we did actually, which I'm kind of surprised we did, because it was, I was getting pretty worried. But I don't know. I don't know. Maybe, but I mean, I guess I'm too used to having the 2 parties. I don't know.
Well, I mean, well, and we've had this whole conversation now of Trump and a Patriot Party and all this. Do you think, it segues beautifully into this. Do you think that we ultimately are talking about 6 months, a year from now, Donald Trump just decides to walk away from this, decide it ain't worth it. I've got my hotels, I've got my licensing deals. Post-presidency life, he's got some financial issues, but he's still a former president. Who knows what connections he has to other countries around the world, other dictators, and what deals he may have cut on the side over the last 4 years. Then he just decides, you know what, it's political stuff. It's just not worth it. And maybe we're overstating what his influence on the party will ultimately wind up being.
Possibly. I think, look, I think because he's such a narcissist that he's not going to want to fade away. This Twitter ban is killing him. Let's face it, we haven't heard from this guy in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of amazing, actually, if you think about it.
It's crazy.
He became a former president. Actually, the irony is, by banning him, Twitter turned him into a normal former president. Former presidents leave and they shut the fuck up. And then that was the other thing I was going to warn you about. And then the dog hears something, and there you go.
That's okay.
This would be hey, Sasha, this would be the neighbor's daughter who she likes, I believe. I mean, I work at home anyway, but in the age of COVID, fortunately, people have gotten more used to children and dogs in the background and husbands.
True.
What were we saying with the? What was your question?
Well, no, just in terms of Trump deciding to fade into the.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to want to fade, right? He's such a narcissist, and he was getting such attention, and 20 times a day he was tweeting and this and that. He wants to be back on the stage. I could see him absolutely traveling around the country and having rallies just for the fuck of it, right? I mean, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yeah, it's okay.
Just for the hell of it, he's going to go have rallies and whatever. The political thing is a nice grift, so he might do it for that reason, right? He raised $200 million for the Steele election thing. And of course, it wasn't really for the Steele election thing. That's the guy who's got problems with his debt. He had to salivate when he saw $200 million coming in. So he knows if he can do some more election grift, he can get more money. So that's going to be an incentive for him. But I think he wants people to be talking about him, and we're not talking about him.
I heard Charlie Dent.
That scares me.
I heard Charlie Dent suggest that Ivanka Trump was going to run for Marco Rubio's Senate seat. Does he know something we all don't?
People have been saying that. Oh, that's been the chatter for a while now. That's just been the chatter.
I don't know why she would. I mean, she still has so much life ahead of her. I don't understand what the appeal, what the allure would be.
Why politics?
No, I don't get it.
Well, because also she's tarnished. I mean, she's tarnished her name so much in the last 4 years, right?
Of course.
She was setting herself up to be Little Miss, my trademark in China and my purses and everything else, and my see-through blouse at the UN and whatever. I was appalled by that, by the way. But did you use all those photos?
But Obama wore a beige suit.
She had a freaking nipple shirt at the UN. I showed it to my mother. I was like, okay, maybe it's me being a prude. I showed it to my mother, and she goes, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "Mom, it's not." I pulled up like 3 other photos, and they were all from like Getty and Real News Service. Yeah. She was like, "I can't believe she would do that." No, I mean, it was obscene. And she was attending a religious meeting, a meeting of religious people at the UN, wearing a shirt broadcasting her freaking nipples. These people are out of their minds. I mean, anyway. I digress.
Yeah. And then Lara Trump potentially running for Congress in North Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, Don Jr.'s insane. He'll probably try. Ivanka, they may both try. I don't know what now, Don Jr., again, like dad, we are Don Jr.'s dad. Don Jr. needs the affirmation. He didn't get it from Donald, so he needs the Twitter trolls to be like, "Oh, we love you." Right? So he may run just for that reason, although him legislating would be hysterical, Yeah. Because he wouldn't. Ivanka, I don't know what she's thinking. She honestly ought to go back into business and try to rehabilitate her name.
Because she still has time to. And if anything in America has been proven, you get a second chance here. And sometimes even more than that. I mean,
you get a second chance, but at least in politics, we always say that it's very hard to turn around a negative. In terms of once you've been painted as a sort of a negative persona, it's hard to sort of bring that back. Because people sort of decide, I don't like you. It's hard. If they don't know you, maybe. If they like you, you can turn them against you. But once you know somebody's done a bad thing or is a bad person, it's kind of hard to say, oh, but, bygones. Although with Trump, they're trying to. He got 6 people killed. Bygones.
So thank you to John Aravosis for talking with us. That was part 1 of the conversation I had with him. I was planning to air both parts tonight, but frankly, because we had some technical issues that sort of delayed the show, I'm going to hold part 2 of that conversation over until our show on Tuesday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. So if you enjoyed what you were hearing from John Aravosis, don't worry. Plenty more of that coming up on tomorrow's show. So I was following tonight just before just before we came on the air here, I was following this whole story about Mitch McConnell, and basically he tried to claim he had a victory tonight over Chuck Schumer and the Democrats by saying, "Well, I won because they're not going to eliminate the filibuster." As much as Mitch might want to portray himself as the winner, the now Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell came out quite the loser. He gave up on the idea of trying to be able to wrestle control with Chuck Schumer, who is the Senate Majority Leader, and this idea of shared power. No, it's not shared power. Democrats are in the majority because they have the 51st vote, and that's Kamala Harris. And they've made a decision to, as of now, not blow up the filibuster. But I'm going to say this, and I think it's very important to start having this conversation. Democrats need to have a bit more of a spine. Remember that over the last 4 years, Republicans had no problem jamming through and endorsing every idea that Donald Trump brought to the table, no matter how stupid it was. Whether it was the tax cuts that were supposed to help you but really didn't because they were busy helping the rich. Whether it was the idea that he had COVID under control. Whether it was separating kids from their parents at the border. Whether it was the Ukraine call, whether it was the Mueller report where he pretty much was shown to be a liar, but they just kind of swept it under the rug. Republicans now want to talk about this idea of unity. They want to talk about this idea of coming together, this kumbaya moment. If I'm Democrats, I say absolutely not. I mentioned this in the conversation with John a short time ago. Democrats have 18 months to do basically everything they want to do if they blow up the filibuster. Now, a lot of people could say, well, that can blow up in your face because Republicans, eventually they may be back in the majority. And if they are, now they're going to be able to jam things through because the filibuster is going to be gone. Keep in mind, this is the same Republican Party that has no respect for rules. If Democrats don't do it now, Republicans will do it later. Remember, it's the party that said, we don't put Supreme Court justices up for nomination, and we don't put them up in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee. We don't do any of that in an election year. Amy Coney Barrett, ring a bell? This is the party that had no problem throwing that rule under the water, throwing it into the water, when it was their time to pick a Supreme Court candidate, but had no problem keeping it from Barack Obama. And as a result now, you have a court that is, at least for the time being, tilted in a heavy way towards conservatism. Now, Democrats may ultimately opt to change that. Chuck Schumer, in an interview tonight with Rachel Maddow, made it very clear everything's on the table, including adding Supreme Court justices. If I'm the Democratic Party, you got 18 months. Make it count. One of the things I always criticized Barack Obama for was the idea that, he did he did health care in his first term when he had control of the Senate and control of the House. Well, he kind of did health care. He didn't get every part of it he wanted done. And ultimately, it was the only thing he got done. What did he do with prison reform? What did he do with DACA? What did he do with trying to get dreamers into the country legalized permanently? What did he do? He had the House. He had the Senate. What did he do? Well, Mitch McConnell made it hard. Well, it's because Democrats don't play hardball. It's the old Michelle Obama, we go high when they go low. No, you got to play in the dirt with them. Politics is dirty. There's one thing I agree with some people on when they're like, well, both sides are dirty. Well, now one side plays dirtier than the other. Democrats need to get that dirty. They need to be willing to get down in the mud. Politics is dirty. There's not going to be this unity. Joe Biden has this this dream of being able to bring the left and right together and we'll find common ground. Mitch McConnell's taking victory laps with a president that's just been impeached, a Senate trial coming up for it, and having just lost the Senate majority. And Mitch McConnell's still taking victory laps. What makes you think it's going to be any different? Well, Mitch McConnell and I work together. You work together at a time where you could go have dinner with the opposing party. You work together at a time when, they play card games together in back rooms and make deals. And Tip O'Neill would go over to the White House and talk with Ronald Reagan, and they'd get something hammered out. That ain't happening. Those days are done. And again, going back to something I said at the start of the program tonight, and I know some of it got cut out, so I may repeat myself a little bit here. Part of the reason I left the country is because those conversations aren't happening anymore. That middle ground is gone. I said this 2 years ago. I was hosting a radio show, and I was hosting it out of Palm Springs, but it was a web-based show, so it could go out all over the globe. And I said it then. The only way you get anything done in this country now is with single-party rule. And I know people think that's bad because there's 74.2 million people, as I think I may have pointed out in my conversation with John, either in part 1 or part 2. There's 74.2 million people that voted for Donald Trump. But elections have consequences, and it sucks to be them because they are still the minority of the popular vote and the Electoral College vote. If you wanted Donald Trump, you should have voted for him. And 7 more million people at least voted for Joe Biden. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. Whether you think that's fake or not, whether you think the polls were rigged or not, that's it. That's what happened. Your guy lost. The people have spoken. They don't want any more Donald Trump. And he only has himself to blame because the only thing that got him voted out of office was his big mouth and his Twitter fingers. That's what got him out. I said this 2 years ago. What was going to get Donald Trump out of office wasn't policy. In the end, it wasn't even something as dumb as saying inject bleach into yourself to eliminate the coronavirus. It wasn't even that got him kicked out of office. It was Trump fatigue. It was people simply waking up saying, how many tweets do I have to wake up to from Donald Trump today? I know. I subscribed to his tweets because I wanted to know just how batshit crazy he could be. And I found out day after day after day. I got to be honest, my stress levels since Trump has left office have decreased dramatically. I still have a lot of stress for a lot of reasons, but my stress levels have decreased dramatically since Trump left office. Because I don't have to wake up and wonder, has he started a war by tweet today? Has he said something so offensive that the next time I talk to my friends in Singapore, they're going to be saying, is he crazy? What's going on there? When I got off the plane here in Singapore and I was going through immigration, I was talking to people and things like that. And even just talking to everyday people here. Everyday Singaporeans. People I didn't even know. As soon as they found out I was American, it was like, oh. You voted for that guy. We're all stained with Trump, whether you voted for him or not. And it's going to be nice for Americans to be able to exhale for the next couple of years anyway. You may not agree with everything Joe Biden does politically. You may not agree with everything the Democrats try to push through as far as their congressional agenda is concerned, and their political agenda and their policy agenda is concerned. But there's going to be a real sense of relief and calm, not just in the United States, but where I am right now here in Singapore, around the world, about the fact that they don't have to worry that the nuclear codes are in the hands of a guy who just got banned from Twitter. Think about that for a moment. As my old buddy Anita Marks used to say, marinate in that for a second. The idea that the guy isn't even allowed on Twitter and he could have nuked Iran or North Korea. Think about that for a second. Think about how backwards crazy that is. And don't say, well, he shouldn't be banned from Twitter. No. The mere fact that his rhetoric got so out of control that they had to take that step. I saw this just before we were getting set to go to air today. So apparently Florida wants to try and make a run at the Olympics. Did you guys hear about this? Yep. The state of Florida is trying to convince the IOC that should Japan back out of the 2021 Olympics, which frankly they probably should, because we're still probably another year away probably from herd immunity around the world at the very least most of the civilized world. It's difficult to imagine having a really fun, watchable Olympic Games that aren't tarnished by athletes having to back out, athletes testing positive for COVID, not being able to compete, potentially infecting others, fans not being able to be there, and so on. Florida's chief financial officer, the story in the Bangkok Post. By the way, I was in Bangkok last year. Well, year before. It was kind of cool. Florida's chief financial officer on Monday telling the International Olympic Committee the state would be happy to host the Olympic Games amid speculation that current hosts, Japan, may back out. Jimmy Petronas sending a letter to Thomas Bach, who's the head of the IOC, saying, hey, relocate the games to Florida. Well, to the U.S., but more specifically, Florida. Now, Japan has privately, reportedly said they're too worried about the pandemic to have the Olympics. They've said, hey, our vaccine rollout here in Florida, it's great. How many people died in Florida today? Can we check on that? Can we check on the Florida coronavirus death count? Let's see if I can get that. Florida coronavirus death count today. Let's see. I'll give it to you. Today in Florida, they had 9,535 new cases. They're averaging 11,167 cases over the last 7 days. They've had 25,445 deaths. But hey, only 129 today. And you're trying to argue for the Olympics? We don't even have adequate testing in the U.S. So we don't even know if that number's accurate. How many more people have contracted coronavirus? How many more people are spreading it? What's going on with the second strain, the third strain? You want to talk about the Olympics? It's just mind-blowing. It really is. It's absolutely mind-blowing if you actually pause to think about it. One more sports item before we go. And again, thanks for those of you that hung in with us as we had some technical issues with the show today. Tomorrow will be better. Tomorrow will be flawless. One more thing before we go. Yeah, he threw 3 interceptions. And yes, he is on a very well-rounded team that can mask the fact that he's 43 years old and isn't the quarterback he might have been 7 or 8 years ago. But the mere fact that Tom Brady has the Tampa Bay Buccaneers playing in the Super Bowl in their home stadium the very first year that he arrives on the scene is all the proof you know of 2 things. 1, he is the greatest quarterback of all time. The discussion is over. He's going to his 10th Super Bowl. But 2, before you get giddy about Urban Meyer walking through the door in Jacksonville, or before you get giddy about the idea of Robert Saleh walking through the door and coaching the New York Jets. I was going to say walking into New York, but they play in New Jersey. Before you get giddy about those things, remember Tom Brady. Remember Tom Brady and the fact that this guy went to a new team, new city, new offense, new head coach, new receivers, limited off-season workouts because of COVID, and they're going to the Super Bowl a year after they didn't even make the playoffs. They're going to the Super Bowl. You can spin it any way you want. You could talk about his statistics. Is he a top 15 quarterback? Is he a top 10 quarterback? They're going to the Super Bowl with Tom Brady at age 49 in their home stadium, something that's never been done before. And Bill Belichick and Cam Newton and Robert Kraft and the Patriots are watching it from the couch. The whole postseason, watching it from the couch. Players win in this league. Bill Belichick was a .500 coach in Cleveland. What did he do without Tom Brady? And don't give me the Matt Castle year. That's the exception. It's not the rule. In the years without Tom Brady, I'm not saying Bill Belichick's not a good head coach. I'm not saying he's not a great head coach. I'm not saying he might not even be the best head coach. But remember what coaches are, inevitably. Play callers in some cases, running the defense in others, communicating with players, managing the game on some level in terms of the play calling and the strategy and the design. And granted, decisions can come in that really matter. Ask Matt LaFleur on kicking a field goal late in that loss to the Buccaneers. But remember, inevitably, it's the guys playing on the field. It's not Robert Saleh coming in, who's highly heralded, this great coordinator with the 49ers, and oh my God, it's going to be great, and the Jets have turned it around, and you're still a team with Sam Darnold at quarterback, who's still largely unproven. And you're an organization that's found a way to screw up a cup of coffee basically every year for the last 20 years, 15 years, 10 years, whatever, after Mark Sanchez left. And Tom Brady is going back to the Super Bowl for a 10th time, and this time with a different team. He's got a chance to do something no other quarterback has done, and that is be a Super Bowl winning starting quarterback for 2 different teams. As good as Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs are, I certainly wouldn't put it past Brady. I think you'd be nuts if you did too. All right, that's going to bring to an end this first episode of Up Late with Jason Page. We'll be back on Tuesday night, 11 p.m. in the U.S., Wednesday afternoon at noon here in Singapore. This was fun. Hopefully we'll have the technical gremlins figured out for tomorrow's show. Thanks to John Aravosis. We will play part 2 of our interview with him tomorrow. Plenty more guests, plenty more interaction with you guys on social media, Twitter, Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, I had a good time. This was good. All right, back with you tomorrow. I'm Jason Page in Singapore.